salt, sauerkraut, waterfall, olive, bow wow, call, tall pow, south side, outside, pow, outline, missile thought, fire bounce, higher pose, out now. I was outside, now my power, pow, now. Eyes wide, shoulda, speak utterly, upside down, camera obscura, power down, scuba, mama in Cuba, my it sounds good now. Out and about, title bout, bow, how loud, high loud, Mutai, Aztec, forearm, NASDAQ, abstract, vacuum rockin', chow down, hazmat to do so diametrically outbound. Matter of fact, pass that ginger pop in the cooler than the medulla of Rick the ruler. Hula hooper with new bow downs from Nuba. That's that life of a king, got my crown now, feeling accomplished. Super looper fresh chocolate, collective of conscious, young crunk in your town now. Vietnam aircraft snapping like a bear trap. Tijuana Air Max, chainmail gauntlet. Big Bertha earthquakes, 100 dB, 90 BPM, heavy hitting them triplets, 100-sided dice, rolling 79 twice. Get ready, we bringing the jazz back with the rhythm, we giving them zenithal missiles of Midwest liquid mission, tricky mixing, matching, scratching, rapping, action, Jackson making it happen, pap it, midi, patch it, map it with a pinch of magic, casting master sentences, with a gang of wicked vixens listening close to us, flipping different widgets, mystic digits, coast to coast, pole to pole, folding time, golden time. Overload on. Test 1, 2. All right, today's lecture, peace to everybody at TTM Academy. We're going to be talking about Super Bowl and as it relates to the Crips being publicized via Snoop Dogg, who was Crip walking and, doing a bunch of gang-related activity. He was, throwing up the Crip signs, rapping about the Crips. And that's a real mafia. So yeah, I was saying, imagine, Frank Sinatra was said to have mafia ties. And basically, if you think about, Steven Seagal, he was being extorted by the mafia. Mafias and gangs are real entities that really affect people's lives. And at TTM Academy, we're doing a moratorium on gang violence. And, as far as colonialism, that's what this lecture is about. If you think about the Super Bowl and the amount of money that's going into promoting inner warfare in black communities, right? That's a pretty blatant, bold statement for him to be wearing a giant blue suit, talking about Snoop Dogg. Snoop Dogg wearing a gang outfit. He was literally wearing a gang bandana outfit and doing the dance of the gang, which is in jails all across the nation. It's in cities all across the nation. Now, the Crips are a minority. Most of our lectures are on the Blood Gang, given that they're the majority in the U.S., outside of Chicago and places like that. I'm from Milwaukee, and the reason why we have a moratorium on gang violence here at TTM Academy is because of the fact, I've had two cousins that both got killed by, trap music listeners, right? And since when has a teen genre of music ever been, something that's, actually like enticing people to actually take others' lives and things like that, So both of them were like basically teens, early 20s, and then I just had a third cousin found in the river. And that's still pending investigation. So basically, what's been happening is, as far as Cardi B and Nicki Minaj and things like that we've talked about before, as far as the Blood Gang monopoly running the airwaves, we see Pop Smoke being one of the only Crips, that was really coming out, that was new. They killed him. So it's like maybe Snoop Dogg's the only Crip they allow. And, I was going to do a lecture on, Snoop Dogg, reacquiring Death Row Records. But, I'll tie it into this because this all relates to the prison to school pipeline or the school to prison pipeline and back and forth. So basically, there was a meeting in the early 90s. I believe Kwame was at the meeting. Kwame, the polka dot Kwame.
And, they had this meeting of a bunch of rap elites and lawyers and, industry people. And they said, let's create a school to prison pipeline via rap. Most things as far as manifest destiny are, plotted out on paper, on business plans. When people talk about like the man or this and that or whatever, it's like, things are business plans. It's really more so, companies and specific, entities that are doing whatever thing. So we know in the early 90s, they made a conscious effort after that meeting to change rap into, just gangsterism. Because there was always gangster, rap stuff. You go to the Wild Style and I think that was maybe Double Trouble, right? They had like the Tommy guns and stuff like that, but it was more of like a village people type of thing where it's like, people were just wearing outfits, you know what I'm saying? It was more like a theme, but then when you hear like, you go to like Mobb Deep and you hear like, okay, sticking up to stick up kids. So if somebody's sticking up to stick up kids, it's like they're talking about stuff that people do, or it could have been stuff that they do. But once you get to something that you're really part of a real gang, and the gang is actually real, then it's not art. Because I look at Mobb Deep as art. They're not like claiming sets. They're talking about violent things and stuff like that. But they're not like, this particular real gang is going to ride on y'all fools type of a thing. And, a lot of people are actually doing that. It's like, I feel like Trippie Redd's a blood. They're all bloods. You know what I'm saying? And, it's scary as an artist, as a black male, we're getting taken out. And, Ice-T just made a comment, saying, be careful. There's over 50,000 active, gang members in LA. He's talking about to all the new rappers, as far as like Kodak Black getting shot at. But some people say Kodak Black needed to get shot at. Him, filing his own mother and stuff like that on film. A lot of people say that he's been trying to get out of that, finagle out of that press, from all that bad press from that. To me, this whole thing, might be fake. You know what I'm saying? But, because those guys, Kodak and them, they like being in jail. It's like, why would you want to go back to jail if you got a hit single? But, so that's the whole gangster thing. And that's the core of this lectures. It's about the fact that, they're brainwashing black youth to want to either be basketball players or killer rappers. I'm not mad at influencing people to be a rapper. If it's not rap that's like destructive to the community. But since when have music genres been destructive to the community? We know that the gang culture has been rising and getting worse and worse in a lot of different cities in America. You know what I'm saying? Because it used to be, just back in the day, it was like, the murder capitals would shift around, and now you see Source magazine is basically like a murder dog magazine now, whereas they're just talking about criminal stuff, and they're making, they're trying to associate hip hop with criminal behavior. So I don't know if Benzino and all those fools, you know what I'm saying, are like, part of all that. But I stopped looking at the source way back. But yeah, the whole game is all gangster now, and we got even Biden and Sanders, promoting gang members, and it really has to stop. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, say what you want about Kanye or whatever, he's not promoting. He's never talking about gangs, and he was literally saying like, Jay, don't send your killers at me. People have killers, and Drake has killers, and everybody has killers, and it's too much. And all the kids want to grow up and be like, yeah, I'm gonna have my killers. Like, my homie, you gonna be one of my killers. It's like, and like I was saying, I got two cousins that both got smoked. Both got smoked in a car in the back of their heads. You know what I'm saying? One on Father's Day got smoked in the back of his head, and the other one a day after his birthday got smoked in the back of his head. You know what I'm saying? By trap music fans, by Gucci Mane fans. You know what I'm saying? By people that like all the new stuff. So it's when you see Snoop Dogg on there, you know what I'm saying, And as far as him like reacquiring Death Row Records, it's like Mattel owning it. People were starting to come out and expose them about Mattel and the clear, obvious school to prison pipeline that they've said. All right, so yeah, we're finishing off. My phone died when I was doing that Super Bowl lecture, but yeah, so this isn't like a typical kind of conspiracy theory Super Bowl lecture. This is actually just talking about an actual moratorium on gang violence being monetized and distributed and marketed and just everything towards black communities. So I'm talking about Snoop and his gang stuff, but there's some other minor things, like if you talk about I believe Dre said still not loving police, but then Kendrick actually blurred out, censored him saying popo. So it's like, why is popo a bad word, but they can Snoop Dogg can crip walk, so we're still under colonial rule, as you can see by the billions of dollars of corporate money that are being put into inciting and hyping up the black child soldier the American black child soldier warfare, civil wars that are going on. Because when it's in Africa, we're like, oh yeah, those are blood diamond child soldiers, it's a civil war. But when it's in Compton, people try to be like, oh, that's culture, and notice how you hear Whack 100, people like that talk about culture this and LA culture. They're trying to make gang culture part of black culture.
Bloods, Paul, Rules, and Crips, like as a representation of my culture, where I come from.
Trying to make it part of black history, like Snoop Dogg Crip walking is part of Black History Month. That's like saying Frank Sinatra being down with Gambinos and doing a Gambino dance is part of Italian culture. If the Gambinos have some particular dance and some particular family seal, and Frank Sinatra is wearing a Gambino family seal outfit, right? And then he's doing a Gambino family dance and then singing songs about Italian Americans enticing Italian Americans to shoot each other. The Italian American community would be up in flames about that, right? And if likewise, if Germans were to be playing gangster klezmer music using real gangs, because there was gangs during Nazi Germany. There's always gangs all around the world, but this moratorium that we're pushing is for moratorium on gangs and the radio. You know what I'm saying? Radio and media, and there should be no gangs profiting financially from music. So we see with the Super Bowl, they have to actually pay for those things themselves. So Dre actually paid $7 million. They don't pay the artists. I think Michael Jackson tried to get $1 million. They didn't even give Michael the ability to get $1 million. But I believe they ended up donating. They donated the money to him. I'm sorry, they donated the money to a foundation. Michael Jackson made a mandate, told the Super Bowl back in the day when he did it, that they had to, donate a bunch of money if they're not going to pay him. But at the time, the Super Bowl was like 22% viewer deficit. So they're viewing, before they brought Michael Jackson in, everything was down by like 22%. Because they were just having sideshow acts do the show and people didn't really care. So once again, they obviously had to use black music, which is the lifeblood of all music, all modern pop music, dance music, all the genres that we're using today are all different forms of black American music. And when I say black American, I'm including Jamaica and the diaspora. You know what I'm saying? As far as high technology, because a lot of the, as far as what's popping in the UK, a lot of that stems from a lot of West Indian families. But like I said before, if you take it back to Goldie was actually in Florida. He learned about the breaks in Florida, so he brought the breaks from America, you know what I'm saying, to Iceland, to the UK. You know, shout out to Aggie. Shout out to all the metalheads out there. My homie's an official metalhead now. You know, he's dropping on the metalhead label. So shout out to Agner Agnerson. Shout out to Agzilla. So big shout out to you out there in Iceland. But yeah, I'll holler at you next time I'm out there. And y'all gotta look out, because sometimes if you're flying from the U.S. to Europe, they'll give you a special overnight in Reykjavik in Iceland. So that's what I ended up doing. Whereas like I had a trip to Europe, but they gave me a free night to lay over in Iceland. You know, so that was cool. So Iceland's cool. You know, that was years back, and I was able to put some of that stuff in the Skater Girl movie. Actually, it turned out really well. But so yeah, now you know, with this moratorium that I'm speaking about, it is we're seeking at the United Turntablists Guild to contact every radio station, every media outlet, and if it has to be a federal court thing, putting in an injunction on all gang-related stuff. You know, the hypersex stuff, we can get that knocked out too within it. You know, but you know, going back to Snoop Dogg and the Crip outfit and the whole culture thing, even you know, the diorama that Dr. Dre had to pay for himself. You know, he paid $7 million out of his own pocket to do that whole event. And that points to colonialism too, where it's like, you know, the corporations have, you know, us black folks running around and unable to celebrate. Notice they had a thing said unlawful celebration, just like back in the day with slavery, during the slavery wars. They were like, yeah, y'all can't celebrate, y'all can't communicate, y'all can't, you know, use these drums, y'all can't use these particular languages, y'all can't use these books. You know what I'm saying? You know, my people have been denied all types of everything. We've been denied every aspect of being human by, you know, the Euro diaspora. And, you know, all these remnants of it are still alive. You know, a lot of people act like it's over now and everything's equal, but it's clearly not. Euro males, you know, own, you know, at least 95% of all the land and, you know, all the wealth in the country. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, people can talk this and that all day, like, you know, just be quiet and focus on yourself. But it's like, no, it's like, you know, I've already had too many losses in my own family. And now that I have a son, I'm not going to, you know, play around, you know. I'm going to be going straight to the, you know, different mayors, you know, even the new mayor in New York is trying to talk about, you know, having an anti-drill rap thing. You know, coming down on drill rap and all that. But it's like, why is he spitting genres? You know, drill just means that you're, you know, chopping up beats more like IDM within hip hop, within you know, more complex crunk music, like what jazz is to swing, maybe, as far as crunk to drill, just being more complex and having like crazy drum rolls and, you know, very complex, you know, snare patterns, even, you know, using more effects. It's more psychedelic. It's even a lot more like psych rock compared to regular rock, you know. So, you know, coming down on just a genre, I think is stupid for the mayor to be doing that. The mayor of New York, you know, he really needs to be coming down on actual gangs, like, you know, and I'll provide lists of actual, you know, rappers, popular rappers that you know, identify as being a blood, and those rappers that identify as being a Crip, you know, and some are both. Like I think B-Real's maybe both. You know, a lot of people are down with both, but the thing is, these are real crime syndicates. They try to make it so it's like some type of game or something, you know, like it's Halloween or something, and you know, Snoop Dogg's doing some cultural thing, but it's not culture. And you know, when you see the dioramas at the Super Bowl, those were modeled to be famous buildings in LA. You know what I'm saying? Which is really sad because you know, my wife's actually from LA. my wife actually grew up in Compton for a second. So, she grew up with, seeing some, drug dealers in the corner and all the stuff that, we grew up seeing in Boys in the Hood and all that stuff. She didn't live there all her life, thank God, but, she had to deal with that type of stuff. And even for her generation, people call it culture, like, oh yeah, that's culture, gang, the gang culture, but it's not culture. You know what I'm saying? Like mobs and mafia, that's not culture. You know what I'm saying? Culture is, you can't have a culture that kills itself, because that's the opposite of culture. A culture is something that's self-sustaining, right? A culture has family units and forms of, food and rituals and dance and languages. And yeah, people can have, blood languages, crip languages, dun languages, but all that aside, it doesn't even matter. You know what I'm saying? If it's not really a culture, it's just a gang thing. That's like me saying, crack rock is black culture, And you see Biden giving they're saying he isn't giving the actual vials, but I think they're saying he was giving the actual caps for the vials, like, so you don't break your vial or something like that, the supplies to, So it's like they're not funding free USB for kids in schools that contain all the information in the world. You could contain all the books in the general school libraries in like 5 gigabytes of information. In 5 gigabytes, you could give them every test, every textbook that a school has in 5 gigabytes of information, including all the great books. You know what I'm saying? War and Peace is probably just like less than a megabyte. You know what I'm saying? I remember I used to have War and Peace. I got it somewhere. And I think my War and Peace is like, 500K, or maybe it's like 1.2 megabytes or something silly. You know what I'm saying? So this same guy, Biden, that's saying he doesn't want his kid to grow up in a racial jungle is literally, instead of funding, high technology for the youth and access to free education for everybody, they're paying for crack vials. Things that'll break they're paying for crack vial holders, before Facebook tries to fact check me and ban this or whatever. They're already shadow banning me on, multiple platforms, but, it's just a very twisted world that we live in, that even Cornel West would miss it. I saw Cornel West critique of the show, the halftime show, and he was saying he was wishing the rappers were more political. But yeah, I was talking about Cornel West. So I actually replied to Cornel West. And I was like, what about, the Crip gang, Snoop doing Crip walking, wearing a literal Crip superhero outfit, a blue bandana Crip superhero outfit. Everybody knows the blue bandana is the Crip symbol of LA, and nobody cares. It's a big elephant in the room. The Black Boule, the Talented 10th, they're all turning their face to all the elephants in the room as far as gang violence and the radio and all that stuff. They try to put it on the people and be like, oh yeah, y'all just have subpar families and you're raising gangsters. You know what I'm saying? They try to put it on like, hey, it's up to the parent to be able to, teach their kid how to transcend all that. I'm gonna take off my jacket because it's like, this weather's changing. It's like 60 something now. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? So basically the narrative that's been going on for years is like, oh yeah, that's, these black families, that's the problem with these black families, and it's a family issue. But as far as, the Joe Camel being taken down, that's the same exact, logic people were using. People were like, oh, well, it's the parents' responsibility to block their kids from seeing Joe Camel. But in court, they're able to prove that the kids would be able to, memorize who Joe Camel was without the parents teaching them, just driving by, seeing billboards, all type of diffused corporate brainwashing that goes on. So, during the court process, they were able to, the kids were able to identify Joe Camel. So in that same fashion, once gangster rap is literally in court, if kids are able to recognize, hey, what's the AR-15? hey, what does Drake and 21 Savage mean by gang? That new song, gang. What do they mean by that? What are the Bloods? What are the Crips? And the kids know what that is. Kids know what Bloods and Crips are. There's little kids all over the country right now becoming Bloods because of Cardi B, you know? And we still don't know if B stands for blood. Obviously, you know, her name's Bacardi and she's flipping it backwards, but everybody in her crew, they're from the Brim Gang crew. And the Brim Gang crew, they call themselves something Brim, and this person Brim, you know? So she's Cardi Brim, you know, and nobody's talking about that. So that's what I'm saying, the Black Boule here, like even here in Atlanta, I'm going to contact the mayor in Atlanta, you know, I'll be contacting people in New York next month. I'm going to be writing letters, you know, we're going to be writing letters to the United Turntable Guild, because it's out of control. You know, it's a huge elephant in the room. So, you know, for the new mayor of New York, you know, Eric Adams, I would say to him, you know, he needs to stop focusing on actual drill and focus on the actual gangs. I'm focusing on banning all gangs, anybody that's in the real gang from being on the radio, from being executives at corporations, because it's like the Bloods have a monopoly. It's like Crip. Snoop is the one Crip that they allowed to be out there. You know what I'm saying? Because what happened to Pop Smoke, right? Pop Smoke's gone. You know, and it's not drill music that did that. It's you know, Pop Smoke already being a Crip. You know what I'm saying? And you know, he stole that dude's car or whatever, and you know. And he threw a house party, and, you know, some people at the house party divulged the location, and cash ran up. So, as I've been saying, it's scary to be a rapper now. It's scary to be a DJ, especially in a city, you know, like in New York. People can still, you know, kind of be on some true school kind of stuff. And there are pockets of that, you know, in the South. But a lot of times in the South, you know, people aren't near all the glamour and glitz, so things get even more bloody and more murderous. You know, if you go from New Orleans all the way to, you know, all over Midwest, you know what I'm saying, Oklahoma, all these places are very, very dangerous places for black people. And the radios and the school to prison pipeline that you know, that they created in the meeting that I was speaking out before, when they had that meeting to turn everything into gangster rap. Which now, if you turn on the radio, it is all gangster rap, even the R&B. You know, like even Puffy was saying, he can't get R&B artists out there anymore because all the rappers, all the gangsters are singing. All the gangsters are using auto-tune and using a lot of melodies in their stuff. But even alternative people, let's say you take like Trippie Redd. I'm pretty sure Trippie Redd's a blood. You know, so it's like we can't even have crossover music and alternative music that's not gang related. So it's just too much. So, you know, we're being pushed out as far as non-gang rap. You know what I'm saying? If somebody's submitting something to a label, you know what I'm saying? If you're not affiliated with some gangs and people that are already millionaires, they're not even listening. Like, for instance, you know, Joya Bravo. I don't know if any of y'all know Joya Bravo. I know Joya Bravo, and she got onto one of those shows. Like, maybe that show was CeeLo. It wasn't America's Top Idol, but it was that show where they turn around the chairs. Right? And her whole thing is she performs with a violin and she sings. You know, she's a sister. You know, she was playing violin in the subways for years. You know, had gotten arrested, you know, really putting it down as far as, you know, people playing in the subways. So anyway, she got on that show and they made her take away her violin. They're like, yeah, we like your whole setup, your whole style, but we want you to just sing. You know, we don't want you to sing and play the violin. And that proves that they're actually literally dumbing down black music. So it's just all these trinket kind of super minimal trap beats that sound like crap. I like the rhythm in a lot of the beats, and I'm not against, you know, minimal melodies. I like minimal melodies. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's trap, whether it's trap or whether it's you know, minimal techno. But for me, it all matters the era. You know, the people that do it first are the ones that innovate it, and then everybody just repeating it starts sounding like crap. So, you know, if it's like, you know, Clams Casino and, you know, minimal stuff from 10 years ago, you know, a lot of people have been doing minimal stuff, minimal trap, trip-hop trap, hybrids and things like that. But, you know, now it's just kind of minimalism to where they're actually killing the music to where if you turn on white radio, everybody's got instruments, right? Notice that black radio, nobody's playing instruments unless it's like, you know, a throwback and it's Bruno Mars and you know, whatever the guy that was playing the drums in the Dr. Dre thing. So everybody's like, oh, all hype, you know, to see the Greek culture. You know, they try to make that black culture. You see what I'm saying? Like they got the gang culture. They're trying to make that black history. They got the blonde, you know, steppers, the dog culture, the cute dog culture. They're trying to make that. They want that to be part of, you know, that's black culture. Is like, you know, pledging to white sororities. You know what I'm saying? They want to make our culture like some type of subservient culture. Like, yeah, like what culture have you ever heard of where it's somebody else's culture? You know, it's like, yeah, this little tribe in the middle of Serbia, they actually wear their hair like people from Colombia, and they do plastic surgery to. 95% of the women wear their hair like people from Colombia, and try to use plastic surgery to look like people from Colombia. You know, that you would think that was weird, right? If people from Serbia were doing that, right? And people in Serbia were having when they go to college, they pledge to a Colombian ancient frat or something. That'd be weird for people in Serbia to do that. But when it's black people, you know, pledging to you know, European you know, frats or sororities or lodges or whatever, you know, it's all the same, you know. So it's very problematic with our black community that people are, you know, blind to the gang monopoly and the gang propaganda that's being disseminated, you know, in the communities. We just had a video a month ago at New Year's, a month and a half ago at New Year's, you know, there's mad gunshots, automatic gunshots out here in East Point popping off, and that's just really dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are really getting hit with that. You know, there was a little kid that got hit through the roof of a church one year from a, you know, New Year's bullet. You know, so it's just a lot of knuckleheads. And now I'm not against, you know, people having the right to own guns, or I'm not against gangster rap in general. I'm just saying that, you know, we have to, just like how Joe Camel got banned, you know, we have to ban the use of real gangs in any type of. But yeah, I was saying we got to ban the use of real gangs in any type of commerce. Now, you know, with Dr. Dre paying for that whole thing himself, you know, it's basically like a Dr. Dre CRIP aftermath commercial. It was basically like, hey, look, this is, you know, 50 Cent. You know, he came in the game through the ritual of being shot up multiple times, you know, just by making a diss track. You know, cats came and tried to assassinate 50 Cent, you know what I'm saying? And then it's like, oh, they want young kids to look up to that. Because I remember when I was a kid and RoboCop came out, I remember being like, you know, 7, you know what I'm saying? And being like, oh, that'd be so dope to be like shot up and then have you know, scientists reconstruct my body and become, you know, a RoboCop. You know what I'm saying? So as a kid, you think that's cool because it's like, you know, it's abstract. It's something that doesn't happen in everyday life. But same with kids looking up to 50 Cent. They see him just like RoboCop. Just like I was saying, I was talking about the you know, kids that I was teaching after school like 15 years ago that were in this after school program that put me on the Killer Season. You know what I'm saying? They put me on that crazy Cameron movie. You got kids watching Killer Season, you know, so all this gangster stuff, you know, kids are, one, being groomed into gang culture, but they're also groomed into hyper sex culture. And even with the gang culture, like, if you take it from the Cardi B angle and the Nicki angle, you know, a lot of the women have to be sexed in, you know what I'm saying, to get into the gangs. Just like the dudes are beat in, the women have to be sexed in. And then you turn on the radio, you know, it's all, you know, hyper sex stuff. You turn on Mexican radio, it's all love songs. It's all instruments. Notice? Mexican people, how come only Mexican people are allowed to play instruments on the radio? And white people, the white cast is only allowed to play instruments on the radio. You notice that? How come the black cast isn't allowed to play instruments on the radio? Like, if you just turn on the radio and you find, you know, you have to go to like college radio or, you know, some type of NPR type of thing to hear like maybe some jazz. some jazz from back in the day. Jazz, they were playing instruments. But, I'm not dissing people that don't play instruments. But it is important to note that they're purposely dumbing down black music so that people hate black music. Because most of these politics are actually birth rate politics. Because, if you turn on the radio, since you only hear Mexicans and Caucasian people actually playing instruments, that makes you think like, hey, they're a little bit more intelligent. You know what I'm saying? They're a little bit more emo. They're more emotional. While the black people are just kind of all into sex and gang stuff and lower brow music. So just from, neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, from a young child to an adult, people are going to just start to connotate black music with ignorance and connotate Caucasian music with, progressive chords and complex stuff. You know what I'm saying? And then notice with the Mexican music, they keep them in a box. They're not allowed to, break out of Tejano. There's only Tejano on the radio. They're still playing the same old Tejano love songs, and maybe they're adding synthesizers now, and they're adding some solos on the end now. I listen to all the music on the radio. You know what I'm saying? I listen to everything, and the majority of the black music is all puppeteered by Europeans to look like, that us black musicians are like stupid, that we're low brow, and then they give us one little genre called Afrofuturism, and they'll be like, oh yeah, Flying Lotus is the head of that. And they only let one black guy or so, make money off of being intelligent music. Everything else is low brow. You know what I'm saying? But notice that even for Flying Lotus to get to that position, he had to play the sambo. You know what I'm saying? And do the video with Eric Wareheim, where he was playing into European stereotypes of black hypersexuality, and that was the Wareheim video. The guy from Sid and Eric, the people that have done multiple heinous things against black folks, they make that like that's who we are. So there was like this crazy video where this couple is dancing on the dance floor. I think it's called Dance Floor Dale, and the video's banned. It's like this black couple in their 50s, kind of the whole Eric Wareheim thing where they're making fun of people that look weird. And a lot of times they're making fun of black people. You know what I'm saying? And they're on the dance floor, and then they just kind of tear off their clothes and they start going at it. You know what I'm saying? They start smashing. And, and it's like, so you're telling me even in the IDM world, we got to do that. Even in the IDM world, Aphex has to wear blackface. You know what I'm saying? So from both ends of the spectrum, to the lowbrow art, the highbrow art, white supremacy is running it. And as we see with the colonial setup of football, you got the quarterbacks being mostly Caucasian, and all the black dudes running around waiting for them to throw the ball. All that stuff is real. All is symbolic. Symbolism is in a very important part of our life and important part of the human psyche. And, Francis Cress Welsing was totally on point, in breaking down the pool ball thing, the white ball, knocking the black ball in at the end, and, all these kind of European games, that play upon a lot of different things, just like we proved with the Christmas ritual, where the Christmas ritual coming from their feelings of inferiority, right? And then projecting all those things on black people, so it's like black people are making all the music genres. And then on the radio, if you turn on the radio, you don't hear that. You just hear Caucasian people doing all the music genres. You flip to the radio, pop radio, oldies, all that type of stuff. They keep us in just jazz and R&B and reggae, Then they get a billion other genres. It's like new wave. It's like name a black new wave artist. If you try to name a black new wave artist, they'll be like, no, that's R&B. They try to put every black person from every era in one, box. So that ties into a lot of people were mad about the Super Bowl being all hip hop. And, obviously hip hop is the dominant form of music now. The average person's into hip hop of some kind, And obviously a lot of people are mad about that. Like as far as, they don't put Coldplay on there anymore or all that. But so yeah, I was talking about Coldplay. So when you look at the numbers, and let's say you put up, like I remember seeing a Coachella ad and they had 2 Chainz like smaller than Bear in Heaven, you know, and Bear in Heaven's some small, you know, indie rock group, you know what I'm saying? It's like they're constantly trying to sun us, even though we got millions of views. Like if you type in, you know, their biggest groups like the White Stripes, type in the White Stripes, and yeah, they got a couple songs with a lot of views, but it doesn't compare nothing to all the black artists. We got billions of more views than any of the last era of rock, because rock's dead now. It's officially dead. You know what I'm saying? You know, there's no real new genres that are popping. I'm not saying that it's not going to happen, but right now there's no genres. But yeah, so a lot of rock fans were mad that, you know, there wasn't rock artists, but, you know, obviously it's a sign of the times. But the thing is that how come, you know, Tribe can't, you know, you don't see Tribe Called Quest at the Super Bowl? You know, how come you don't see Daz Effects at the Super Bowl? How come you don't see Humpty Hump? You know how big Humpty Hump was, you know what I'm saying? Like that dance, everybody knows that song, you know, and you know, rest in peace, you know, to Shock G, you know, and that's what happens to people. Sometimes they, you know, the drugs take them over, and you know, the industry doesn't care about them. They get boxed out of the industry, you know. So, you know, if you think about the different permutations of rock and the different, you know, things in the past, you go to like even with Pop and Justin Timberlake, what he did to, you know, violate Janet Jackson on stage. You know, we know that the Super Bowl has always been a stage for European rituals, you know, dominance rituals to keep them dominant, and rituals to keep them, keep their birth rate up, because they're in a negative birth rate in Europe and the U.S. as far as the Caucasian diaspora. And then if you look at some of the commercials during the Super Bowl, like the Liquid Death commercial that has, you know, little kids running around chugging beer, which kind of points to the grooming of beer chugging culture. You know, they're just like with Joe Camel, getting the kids into that cigarette culture. Remember the candy cigarettes back in the day? You know what I'm saying? All that stuff's illegal, you know? But they basically got candy gangster stuff now, you know? Because remember, Hasbro was just owning Death Row before, you know, Snoop took it over, you know? People were starting to expose Hasbro for being a toy company that's promoting, literally has a black man on an electric chair as the logo, and promoting gang culture. You know, all these elephants in the room. It's just it's laughable. People are going to be laughing at the Black Boule in 20 years from now. You know what I'm saying? The Talented 10th, all these people trying to keep everything stagnant and act like, you know, it's the mothers in these communities that need to, and fathers that need to do better and not let their kids become gang members, when it's no. They're actually promoting this stuff just like any other country, all over Africa, you know, all over Middle East. You know, they fund different sides of different, you know, gangs to create division and civil war, and that's what Crips are. Bloods and Crips are no different from all these, you know, child soldiers. You know, just like I was saying, I have, you know, two cousins that got smoked by trap music listeners. And it's not the trap music, it's not the patterns that does it, it's the gangs. It's the real gangs, it's the mentality. Because there's trap, there's all different types of trap. You know what I'm saying? There's psychedelic trap, you know, people you can rap about anything over a beat. You know what I'm saying? So the radio could sound just like how it sounds now, and you know, just have no real gangs on it. No clear drug references, like not having 5 bleeps in one song. Like, what's the point of having the whole bleeps in the song if the main song of the radio has 5 bleeps? You know, there needs to be a limit. There should be like 2 bleeps per day. A radio station shouldn't be allowed to have 1,000 bleeps. You know how many bleeps, how many edits the radio all across the country? Probably millions. Because if you take, let's say there's this one song and there's 3 bleeps of the N word and some gun stuff in it or whatever, the B word, you know, and you add up those bleeps and then you say, you know, that times, you know, they play that song 10 times that day, you know, 15 times that day in 100 radio stations across the country. You know, you see the numbers really get to scale, and then you can see the scale of, you know, and you can actually quantify what's going on. So here at the United Turntablists Guild, we're going to be quantifying all this, just like how we quantified net worth as it relates to blackface. We're going to be quantifying the Crips and Bloods. We're going to be, you know, it's scary doing this, having to make a matrix of Bloods and Crips and, you know, BGs and all that type of stuff, GDs, all these the biggest gangs out there, the parents need to know, who these gangs are. And as I was saying in the past lecture, I had stopped listening to Trap Lord Ross because I felt like he was inciting the gang stuff. But now having a child, I have to watch Trap Lord Ross to know all the details in the gangs because he's done, a lot of the most research. He's a real journalist. You know what I'm saying? And, so it's just really a shame that, this gang stuff just keeps getting pushed nonstop. We saw it come in the early 90s and, it got bigger and bigger. And now we're kind of locked into like Endgame, and this kind of deadlock to where it's just like, all right, where's music going next out of all these gang mafias? Because right now you can't blow up unless you're affiliated with some type of set as a black artist. Like if you're a white artist, hey, you got to be able to play some instruments. But if you're a black artist, like I was saying, what happened to Joya Bravo? They told her she couldn't play, her violin. They wouldn't let her play her violin on national TV. They just like, hey, we don't, we want you to look like a, R&B, black woman and do your thing. They don't want to see a sister singing over violin. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to see that. So they're purposely trying to dumb down all black arts and culture. And, the Black Ballet is also helping them do that because like right in Atlanta, they just shut down the Hammons House. The Hammons House isn't going to be doing, shows anymore. They just fired the director. They just fired Karen Comer, and they're tripping, because it's like we still got the Trap Museum in Atlanta, so literally they just shut down the Hammons Museum, and it's like long live the Trap Museum. They want to make all the black museums into gift shops around the country because they don't want us, making our own skyscrapers. T.I.'s been talking about that, making his own skyscraper. But if you think about it, where there's no black skyscrapers, I can't think of a black skyscraper. I can't think of a black-owned museum, Most, whether it's the Schomburg or the new, Black African-American Museum in D.C., it's all, none of that's black-owned. You know what I'm saying? It's usually foundations from the chosen people, right? As far as algorithms, I have to say chosen people, right? And so, when you see all of that, and then you think like, wow, in lectures in the past, we've talked about the fact that in San Diego, they found human civilization up to 130,000 years ago. So that means it was black folks 130,000 years ago in San Diego eating mastodon ribs, because other humans only go back 65,000 years. So we know that they were black. And they're in San Diego, and now we got people in LA that have no idea about this calling Crips and Bloods their culture when they're sitting on an ancient black civilization that they know nothing about. And Dr. Dre is paying $7 million to create a falsified culture. Like, Roscoe's Chicken and Waffle. It wasn't Roscoe's, but, Roscoe's Chicken Waffle, that's my culture. It's like, yeah, it's a landmark. It's a cultural landmark. I'm not saying eateries aren't, cultural landmarks. That's part of culture. But the main thing I'm saying is that, I believe one of those places is where Suge Knight actually ran over one of those, the guy that he's in jail for now. Like he ran over a guy and killed him. And that happened, I believe, one of my LA friends, I think Eagle Nebula. Shout out to Eagle Nebula. She's a dope rapper. She was just posting like, yo, that's the same restaurant or eatery or whatever, maybe it's a burger spot where Suge Knight ran over the dude in his car and went to jail for that. He's still in jail for that. And, so obviously that connects with, the triumph of Snoop taking Death Row Records back. But why are we supposed to be happy about that? We're happy that Hasbro, a children's toy company, was, inflaming the school to prison pipeline with their, their black wing of their company being a gangster rap label that promotes real gangs. You know what I'm saying? Because once again, I'm not against, Wu-Tang type stuff, Rock Kim type stuff, even Mobb Deep type stuff. If people are talking about the game and they're not being specific and they're not, pushing, real sets on people and, really trying to entice people to do, real things. But yeah, so it's like Dr. Dre, they're creating this false culture. And I hear that all the time. Culture, gang culture, whack 100, all that stuff. All that stuff is fake. They're creating, all this fake Black History Month and all that stuff. It's like, I don't celebrate Black History Month. Being a Black American, I don't celebrate it because it's offensive to me. It's offensive to my hundreds of thousands of years of at least 130,000 years of American history. Now there's artifacts that go way back farther, but that's the only one we can prove is 130,000. All the ones like the gold chains that they found and the and all these other millions of years old things, all that stuff is, they're constantly disputing it. But as you see, as time goes along, we're as Mr. Drew Ali once said, but yeah, I was saying now that we got internet and everybody's got Google and we can find a lot of the facts and we can research and all these type of things, people are finding out that history, not only do they deny books from us, they're trying to change the history, which is called anachronism. We've talked about anachronism in the past, and we're going to have a lot of lectures on anachronism in the future, because anytime you're giving a history lesson, anachronism always has to be in the dialogue, because over history, people are always destroying other cultures' history and then trying to create a new one or supplant themselves in history in places where they weren't, and that's anachronism. It's a strategic move. It's a military move. You know what I'm saying? So, they're trying to create this new fake gang culture and push it on, and we're gonna be compiling the data and using the data to stop the spread of this gang violence. All right, so peace.